How does a kid who started out like this
Anya here's the smartest one we got. She don't talk much, but she's a good kid.
end up in a situation like this?
I'm not scared of this bomb at all. What really scares me most is living somewhere where I can't speak up.
From a scared little girl to a fighter. That's a 1 in a million occurrence right there. Well, it has a lot to do with a spy who needed a fake family, an assassin who needs a fake husband, and one very small child who can read minds and decided none of it would stay fake for long. That's right. Today, we are covering the entire story of Spy Family. So get your spy masks on and let's roll. In episode 1, our story begins with a guy who's technically the best spy on the planet. His name is Twilight.
Codename Twilight, a spy of the highest caliber.
And he works for a Western nation called Westalis, under an intelligence agency called WISE. The East, meanwhile, is run by a nation known as Ostania. These two nations have been at each other's throats for the longest time. Their tensions are just one decision away from turning into a full-scale war. This is where Twilight comes in. He makes sure none of that ever happens. His newest mission, stop a war from happening. Sounds easy, right? Oh, the hell not. Twilight's target is a man named Donovan Desmond, who's the leader of a political party in the East and is very much inclined towards starting a conflict. The catch is that Donovan only shows up at events held at this super elite school called Eden Academy, and the only way to get into those events is to have a child enrolled in that school. So, Twilight, now going by a much more normal name, Lloyd Forger, heads into an orphanage to adopt a child, and then walks in Anya. She is a small, cute girl with one of the most expressive faces you have ever seen in a child. Look at this little cutie patootie. Who could resist such a face? I just want to pinch her little cheeks. Also, she's secretly a telepath. Nobody knows this though, at least not yet. She reads Lloyd's mind, and the moment she realizes her dad is a spy, she goes head over heels for him. This is literally her favorite TV show, Spy Wars, coming to life right in front of her. Lloyd adopts her, and then they head home. Now, things go from 0 to 100 real quick. Anya finds Lloyd's spy equipment and plays with the transmitter. She accidentally tips off a minister named Edgar, who then kidnaps her. Good job, little genius. Lloyd tracks her down, beats the hell out of the guys in an entire building, rescues Anya, and forces Edgar to stay away. And this is just another Tuesday for him. After all of this chaos, Anya passes her Eden Academy entrance exam, thanks to her powers and answers from her dad. However, this does not guarantee direct admission into the school. They receive a letter, and it turns out that phase 2 of the admission requires a family interview with both parents present. Anya now needs a mom, and Lloyd, he needs a wife. Episode 2 begins with the pressure mounting on Lloyd because the interview deadline is approaching, and Lloyd starts to look for a fake wife. He first dresses his friend Frankie as a woman, which honestly was a bad idea, and they both agree that it's not going to work. Meanwhile, meet your Briar, your typical quiet, shy girl who works a regular job at City Hall, except she is a deadly assassin with the code name Thorn Princess. She stabs people in her free time. But Yor has a problem. Her colleagues are gossiping that single women are being suspected as spies. So she needs to find a boyfriend as cover very fast. Even her brother Yuri is already suspicious of her. Fate decides to take the lead. Lloyd and Yor run into each other at a tailor shop, and after several conversations, they agree to go on a fake date for their mutual benefit. Anya reads Yor's mind and discovers she's an assassin. She decides she is the perfect mom for her. A spy dad and an assassin mom? Her dream is turning into reality.
Spy, an assassin? This is so cool!
Lloyd gets caught up in one of his side missions and shows up late and bleeding. In this confusion, he announces himself as Yor's husband instead of her date.
Hey, I needed a boyfriend, not a husband.
You're kidding me. I mixed up our missions.
This comes off as really awkward, but somehow goes great for both of them. The date goes well, and as they're driving home, they meet some bad guys and fight them off together. Yor proposes that they stay married for real, and Lloyd agrees. In a very romantic moment, Lloyd uses a grenade pin as a ring.
No matter what hardships we may face, let's do it together.
How romantic. Spy weddings are something else. In this episode, Yor moves in, and now the Forgers are a family. Well, kinda. Anya eats peanuts with her hands at fancy dinners, while Yor's idea of parenting is strike first, ask questions later. This makes Lloyd decide that the only way to make a family normal is a crash course on upper-class etiquette by going on a family outing. Lloyd does a mock-up interview with Yor and Anya, and, well, let's just say it was one hell of a disaster. Anya says she spends her weekends getting ordered to stay at home and watch TV all day by her dad. This alone would shock the whole panel at the interview. The first stop is the opera. At the museum, Yor is confused and Anya falls asleep. The next stop is an art museum. Yor stares at one particularly strange art, like she's having a personal moment. Imagine staring at a guillotine like that. What a weirdo. Next, they go to a tailor, a photographer, and then a political rally, which overwhelms Anya's telepathy to the point that she gets a headache. Imagine listening to the thoughts of people cursing out in a political rally. I would go nuts too. They go to chill at a park, and that's when they spot a thief robbing an old woman. The whole family springs into action, and Yor chases him down. Lloyd tracks the thief. Anya uses her telepathy to pinpoint exactly where he went. They manage to catch him, retrieve the purse, and return it to the old lady. She calls them a wonderful family, something that moves Lloyd, whose plan seems to have worked. They return home, and Lloyd runs the interview again. This time, it's way better. The Forgers are becoming an elite family. Speaking of family, the Jar family also has a new baby member, and it would be awesome if you could show this very cute member some love. Guys, meet Jar Manga, a channel where I'm gonna be uploading manga recaps. I really hope you like it. Alright, now back to the video. In episode 4, the interview day at Eden Academy is finally here. The Forgers arrive at Eden Academy looking sharp, and Lloyd's spidey senses alert him that someone is watching their every move, which is true. The housemasters are carefully judging each family before anyone sits down. The test started the moment they walked through the gate. The headmaster, Henry Henderson, is extremely unimpressed by everyone until he sees the Forgers pausing to bow at the school founder's statue. Very elegant indeed. Henderson is intrigued by the elegance of the forgers. Then, Lloyd steps into a muddy ditch to pull out a kid who fell in, and that isn't too elegant to Henderson. But then, they pull out a fresh change of clothes, which they had carried just in case. Extremely elegant. Henderson is bursting with excitement.
Brilliant! Such an intelligent move, and so very elegant.
The school's farm animals accidentally escape and cause a chaotic stampede. Yor stops an entire charging cow by strategically hitting its pressure points with her bare hands. And the cow stops, together with the herd. Their elegance has tripled in Henderson's eyes. He almost cries. The actual interview finally comes. Everything goes perfectly until Housemaster Murdoch Swan decides to be a pain in their butts. He is a rude man who's fueled by bitterness after his recent divorce. He asks them tough questions, hoping to intimidate them, but they remain calm and composed. And then he proceeds to mock Anya for getting emotional after asking her ridiculous questions. Lloyd cannot contain it any longer and stretches his fist at Murdoch. Instead of landing a blow, he hits the table and claims he was killing a mosquito. Legend! The forgers walk out after the disrespect, and Henderson gives Murdoch a heavy punch in his face. Very satisfying. The forgers head home and wait for their fate. This episode is all about the results day. Will their efforts bear fruits or end up in vain? We're about to find out. The forgers head to the board and scan for Anya's number, and it is not there. They walk home in full defeat mode. Anya is also quiet. And if you know Anya, this means things are really bad. Out of nowhere, Master Henderson appears and shows them a confidential waiting list. Anya is surprisingly number 1. So, if any of the accepted students drop out, Anya gets in. Henderson tells them to wait by the phone. He also tells them that since he gave Murdoch the classic punch in the face, he might not be a teacher for long. Great guy in my book, dang! Respect. After 3 whole days of waiting, they get a phone call and Lloyd sprints for it. They finally receive the news. Anya has been accepted. Everyone celebrates, and Frankie shows up with wine and gets drunk immediately. As a reward, Anya asks Lloyd to reenact a rescue scene from her favorite cartoon. Lloyd starts by saying no, but eventually he accepts. He contacts Wise, requests a plane, and rents an actual castle. He calls in every available agent and runs the whole rescue scenario with Anya like it's a real mission. They play through the whole thing, and Yor shows up drunk as the final boss. He nearly takes Lloyd out, but in the end, Lloyd rescues Anya in full Bondman gear, and a display of fireworks is showcased. Anya tells Lloyd she will do her very best in school, and they both smile as the other agents leave, having completed the mission to entertain Anya. The next day, Wise receives the invoice for everything. The boss is handed over the invoice and is utterly shocked at the numbers. His facial reaction is not shown, but he's clearly mad as hell that they've used tons of resources for baby-pleasing endeavors. The things we do for love, right? In this episode, Anya gets enrolled in the school. So, Phase 2 of Operation Strix has a very specific requirement. Lloyd goes to meet Sylvia Sherwood, a sharp and no-nonsense lady who is Lloyd's handler, lays it plain and simple. In order to get closer to Donovan, Anya needs to become an imperial scholar. Basically, the top tier of Eden's student hierarchy. Our little Anya is about to face one hell of a challenge. For you to be an Imperial Scholar, you must earn 8 merit badges known as Stella Stars, and at the same time avoid demerits called Tonitrus Bolts. Meanwhile, Yor takes Anya to pick up her uniform. She loves it immediately and wears it on the spot, showing it off to everyone, literally. As they head to the supermarket, trouble finds both of them. A group of idle thugs spots the Eden uniform and decides to make some quick bucks. They grab Anya while she's wandering outside the store. They threaten her, and as soon as Yor discovers she is missing, you know what comes next. She comes out and takes one of them out with a bag of groceries. One picks up a pumpkin, and Yor shatters it with her bare hands. They see she is a badass lady and get the heck out of there. Anya is amazed by her fighting skills and asks Yor to train her. She promises to train her, and immediately when they get home, they begin. Lloyd comes home and sees Yor training Anya. The family then goes to the Eden opening ceremony, and Lloyd has a trick up his sleeve. He pulled some strings behind the scenes to put Anya in the same class as Damien Desmond, the second son of Donovan. If Anya can't become an Imperial Scholar, she will have to befriend Damien and get Lloyd invited to the Desmond home. A solid backup plan, except for one thing. Damien is a rude-ass piece of crap. He's an entitled brat who is extremely rude to Anya and her friends. So, all of a sudden, he shoves Anya, who smirks at him, making Damien even angrier. He tries intimidating Anya, calling her a special little girl, and that's when she crashes out. She lands a heavy blow on Damien, sending him across the room. The headmaster barges in and, surprisingly, is proud of Anya for standing up for Becky. But Lloyd is not happy at all. Day 1, and Anya has already punched the target. Sheesh. Both his Plan A and Plan B are on a life support machine right now. God damn. Episode 7 picks up from where we left off, with Lloyd's plans hanging by a thread. But he's not giving up anytime soon. He sneaks into Eden Academy, disguised as a janitor, to spy on Anya and ensure she apologizes to Damien. He sets up obvious signs, tampers with her textbooks, and even has sorry written with ketchup on her lunch. Talk about effort! Anya feels the intense pressure to apologize, but each time she tries, her friend Becky Blackbell drags her away. Lloyd is keeping an eye on her, getting more desperate by the minute. He just decides to hack into the school PA system and lures Becky away from Anya. Just a normal day for Twilight. With Becky gone, Anya walks up to Damien. With her powers, she reads the minds of his two friends and hears exactly what insults they are expecting him to throw at her.
Raccoon face demon! Go away that too before you give us a comment or two! Get lost, stinky wretch!
Damn, those are quite a lot. Anya bursts into tears before Damien even speaks. She apologizes and says she just wants to be friends with him. Damien freezes in shock and his face goes red. He says he will never forgive her and runs away. Lloyd, who was watching the whole ordeal, collapses in defeat. His plan B is now cooked for real. Back at home, Lloyd tries to persuade Anya to study harder, since Plan B is history now. Anya is reluctant, and Yor steps in to ask whether being an Imperial Scholar is something that she actually wants. Lloyd then realizes he'd been treating her like a mission asset instead of a kid. That night, he goes to check on her and finds her sleeping on her books. He covers her up, and for a brief moment, he wonders what it would actually feel like to have a real family. In this episode, the family meets an unexpected guest. Just as the Forgers are settling into their family routine, things go from 0 to 100 real freaking quick. Yor's brother Yuri shows up at the Forgers' home to congratulate his sister on their marriage. Aww. Sounds sweet, right? Not! The first thing we see Yuri doing is torturing someone for committing treason. Quite an introduction. You see, Yuri works for the SSS, Ostania's state security service, Wise's biggest enemy. How fantastic. Now, Lloyd is having dinner with the man who's actively hunting him down. The Forgers had decorated the apartment with every happy couple item that they could find, in an attempt to put up the happily married facade for Yuri. As Yuri has arrived, the dinner starts out tense. It's almost like a battle of wits, a battle of who will outsmart the other. Yuri tries to get Lloyd drunk to tip him up. Lloyd, on the other hand, steers the conversation towards another topic. Yor acts like a loving wife, something that's really new to her, and this three-way performance is creating a tense atmosphere in the room. The dance of the deceivers, as I would call it. As the dance continues, Lloyd begins to see some inconsistencies while listening to Yuri's responses. From fake travel details to outdated cover story templates, he realizes that they don't add up. He soon deduces that Yuri is SSS. Lloyd is one hell of a smart guy. He decides not to act shocked and spill it out, but instead chooses to file it away as potential intel. Yuri proceeds to get drunk and emotional, and tells Lloyd how hard he worked to raise Yor after their parents died. He asks Lloyd if he can protect her better than he can. With zero hesitation, he delivers one of the most theatrical speeches about loving Yor. Bro said he would protect Yor against meteors falling out of the sky. Really, bro? Yuri is shocked, slightly impressed, but still suspicious. He tells them to kiss in front of him to prove that they are really married. Both act shocked inside, but calm on the outside. Lloyd slowly leans in for a kiss, and the episode ends there. On that cliffhanger. So not fair. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. The true kiss of love. As Lloyd is leaning towards Yor, ready to give her a kiss, she tells him to wait. She grabs a bottle of wine and gobbles it down in one go. She cannot do this sober. It's her first kiss, guys. Cut her some slack. Lloyd whispers to her that they don't have to do this, which makes Yuri more suspicious. But Yor is now drunk as hell. She pins Lloyd down and goes for it. Yuri, having a full-on internal crisis, steps in to stop them. Yor slaps him across the room and he crashes into the wall. He gets emotional and apologizes to both of them for trying to test them. Anya wakes up for a moment and then goes back to sleep. Yuri finally accepts defeat. He doesn't accept the marriage, but recognizes that Lloyd is a decent person. As he leaves, he gives a warning that if Lloyd ever makes Yor cry, there shall be consequences. He almost reveals what those consequences are, and then stops himself, because he was about to reveal that he could have someone executed. Close call, Yuri, dang. After Yuri leaves, Lloyd immediately sweeps the apartment for any bugs he might have left. He finds nothing, thank heavens, but he still needs to confirm if Yor has any connection to the SSS. He decides to plant a listening device on her collar in the guise of wiping something off of her neck. Yor thinks Lloyd wants to lean in for another kiss and spend the entire day in a fog. Yor asks her coworkers for advice on how to be a better wife, making Lloyd, who was listening from a rooftop, feel bad about the whole thing. You'd think that that'll be the end of it, but nah. Later, Lloyd and Frankie disguise themselves as SSS agents and interrogate Yor in an alley to test her. She doesn't bend at all, and doesn't even mention Yuri's name. She says both her husband and brother are good men. After a back and forth, they both come to the conclusion that she's not related to the Secret Service. Lloyd takes the bug off of her collar on the walk home and tells her to just be herself. She compliments him, and he crushes the bug in his hand. The Forgers may be able to become an actual family at this rate. This is the episode where it goes down. With the Forgers becoming more like a family, Anya is slowly progressing for the better. Back in school, a rumor spreads through the first graders that the MVP of the upcoming dodgeball game will receive a Stella star. Lloyd is skeptical, but Yor is already training Anya, who is happier not to study. She'd rather do anything else than study. It's finally tournament day. Anya's class, Cecil Hall, goes up against Wald Hall. The problem is, some kid named Bill Watkins, a big, well-trained boy who has been trained specifically for this. Bill is treating a primary school dodgeball like a military operation. He eliminates most of Cecil Hall in about 30 seconds flat. What a kid, man! It now comes down to Damien and Anya. Bill targets Anya with a fast low ball, not knowing that his mind was read ages ago. She dodges it effortlessly 3 times in a row. Bill is confused why his moves are being predicted by Anya. Accidentally, she trips over her own feet, and Bill, eager to take advantage, goes for the kill shot. You will not believe who steps up to protect her from the ball. Damien, the boy who's been nothing but rude to our little girl, jumps in front of her and deflects the ball. He's eliminated, but we love him for what he did, right? Anya then proceeds to use Yor's killer move to throw the ball at Bill. The ball bounces off the floor, and Bill sends it right back at her. The game is over, and no stellar star for our Anya. The rumor was fake, after all. Henderson decides that the teamwork shown by both sides is worth a Stella star anyway. Anya gets nothing because she was eliminated, and Damien gets nothing because he sacrificed himself to save Anya. But all in all, it was a sweet moment altogether. Our Anya seems to be doing quite well for herself. But not in this episode. Despite Anya's moments of bravery and selflessness, her grades are bad. Like, really terrible. Lloyd looks at her test scores in disbelief, thinking that this mission is about to go up in flames. The academic journey to Imperial Scholar is looking rough. This makes Lloyd come up with another plan. Besides grades, Stella stars can be earned through community service and acts of heroism. He then takes Anya to volunteer at a hospital. It does not go as planned. Anya picks up a telepathic cry for help from a patient named Ken, who's fallen into the hospital pool and is drowning. Anya cannot tell Lloyd directly, so she devises a plan. She runs towards the pool and claims she wants to become a professional swimmer. She jumps in, but she really can't swim. Lloyd dives in to save her and pulls both of them out of the water. This kid, Anya, is just too brilliant. The adults are horrified that they didn't notice sooner. They should be more horrified that a child with powers is saving the day. The next day, Anya receives her first Stella award for saving Ken's life. She proudly wears it on her uniform like a badge of honor, and jokingly tells Becky to call her Starlight Anya. She deserves it, honestly. However, some jealous classmates try to say she didn't deserve it. Damien shuts them down and explains that the school doesn't award stars without merit. Damien seems to be on Anya's side now, slowly but surely. Back at home, Anya asks her parents for a dog as a reward. Lloyd immediately imagines a guard dog, while Yor imagines a dog attacking Anya. With Anya reading their minds, she freaks out and screams that she only wants a small little cute dog. This episode starts on a low note for Lloyd. He's becoming exhausted. Wise keeps stacking side missions on top of Operation Strix, making him run on empty for days. As he's walking, he overhears some neighbors gossiping that he might be cheating or unemployed. For the sake of looking like a normal, happy family, he announces that they're going out next weekend to the aquarium. Talk about covering your tracks. And of course, a mission's waiting for him there. How convenient. A microfilm containing chemical weapons has been smuggled inside a penguin at the Berlin Aquarium. Our favorite spy's day off has become a mission. He disguised himself as a new staff member and began identifying 200 penguins by sight within minutes. That's badass, not gonna lie. The actual staff is surprised by his accuracy in knowing the penguins. He locates the target penguin, pulls it aside, and opens its mouth, where he sees something stuck in its throat. Just as he was extracting the capsule, a fake professor approached him and identified himself. He realizes this ID is fake, and as the professor pulls out a gun, he disarms it with a bucket, and the madman runs away. Anya, who's been watching all of this from a distance, decides to chase the fleeing man herself. She grabs the man's jacket and screams to Yor that she's being kidnapped. And you know how that ends. Like the previous kidnappers who tried to do the same thing. Yor springs into action. A nice, powerful kick. The kind of kick that sends teeth flying out of his mouth. Literally. The neighbors see Lloyd with a giant stuffed penguin he won at a challenge, and this changes their opinions about him. The mission is complete, and they return home. Back at home, Anya creates a secret spy organization called P2 and installs the penguin plush as Agent Penguin Man. Then she gives Lloyd and Yor code names. A bit of fun won't hurt them, so they play along and even go outside to play Anya's game. That's adorable! People along the way compliment them, and truly, they look kinda cute playing together like one big happy family. Finally, in this episode, they seem to listen to Anya's cries for a furry friend. The foragers head out to find Anya a dog. Lloyd wants a guard dog, while Anya wants something small and cute. Talk about a dilemma. But we all know who gets the last laugh. Our good little Anya. Lloyd fakes a stomachache as he receives a new order. He is briefed on a plot to assassinate Foreign Minister Brantz. He's also told that one of the plotters is being interrogated at HQ. Lloyd dresses as the leader of the terrorist group, a man named Keith, and he performs a nice psychological game to convince him to give out critical intel on Keith's whereabouts. Lloyd learns about the suicide Doggy's mission by the terrorists and is tasked to stop it. Meanwhile, they reach the adoption fair, and immediately Anya locks eyes with a big ol' white furry dog. She reads the dog's mind and sees a vision of her entire family, happy and cheerful through the dog's perspective. She doesn't inform Yor, but she quietly follows the dog into a nearby building. Inside the building, she comes across the hideout of a terrorist organization led by Keith Kepler, a cold and fanatic man. His sinister plan is to use dogs as suicide bombers. That's cold, man. Someone needs to call John Wick. Anyway, bro intends to strap dogs with explosives to use them in the assassination of Minister Brantz, a Westphalian foreign minister visiting Ostania for peace talks. If Keith manages to pull this one off, war erupts. Anya hides behind the door and listens to the whole plan. She unfortunately gets caught, but the white dog comes to her rescue and they run outside. Yor gets paranoid after failing to find Anya. As she is frantically searching for her, she manages to spot Anya on top of the running dog and goes after her. She finds the guy who captured her and gives them a thorough butt kicking. This episode is all about Anya and her dog's adventures. After escaping the hideout with the dog by her side, Anya reads its mind. And boy, oh boy, is it filled with a grim picture of the future. She sees an explosion at the clock tower that kills Lloyd, her spy father. She doesn't tell Yor about the vision. She lies to her and runs away with the dog towards the clock tower. At the tower, she figures out that the bomb is hidden inside a locked room. She climbs through a small window and spots the bomb covered in black wires. She has no idea how to defuse it, of course, so she does what her tiny little mind tells her. She finds some ketchup and writes a warning message on the wall outside the door so Lloyd will know not to dare open it. That's her plan. Ketchup. Lloyd arrives with two wise agents. They see the warning, but one of them reaches for the door handle anyway, thinking that it's just a bluff. Lloyd stops him and peeks using a glass shard to see a bomb. They call in the state security service to handle it and find out where Brantz is hiding out. Lloyd proceeds to disguise himself as the minister and walks out of the hotel. He drives off alone in an attempt to draw Keith out, and they take the bait and begin chasing the fake minister through the highway. The Forgers are about to introduce a new member of the family in this episode. Keith chases Lloyd through the city, and they end up in a dark alley. Then Keith sends the suicide dog after Lloyd, who skillfully shoots the straps of the bomb and throws it into the river without hurting the dog. The bomb goes off into the river, and no one is hurt, luckily, except for maybe a few fish, but no dogs were harmed. That's what matters, right? In the meantime, Keith tries to escape, and Yor, who's been looking for Anya the whole time, spots her. She stands in the middle of the road and kicks Keith's car off of the road. Yeah, literally like something Superman would do. She then calls the police about a man who had an accident and heads back to search for her daughter. After a while, they both reconvene outside the pet shop. Anya tells Lloyd that she was saved by the dog. Lloyd recognizes the dog as a Project Apple test subject. It is a secret Ostanian experiment that genetically modifies animals for military use. He can't just let a super dog walk free. Lloyd looks at Sylvia, and she accepts and lets Anya keep the dog, since failure to do so would result in her refusing to go to school, ultimately impacting the main operation. Lloyd agrees to keep the dog. Smart decision, mate. The next morning, the dog arrives at the Forger apartment. Anya is extremely excited to see her buddy return. Anya goes to school and brags to everybody that she now has a dog. She is asked about the breed and age of the dog, and all she can say is that it's some big white dog. They head to the park, and the dog recovers her glove from a bulldog that had stolen it. She then gets an idea. She returns home and ties a bow tie around his neck and officially introduces him to the family with a new name. Bond. James Bond. Just kidding. The dog's new name is just Bond. The whole family approves. Even Bond approves. Anya gives him a tour of the house, and after a long day, Lloyd and Yor watch Anya fall asleep on the floor next to Bond. They both agree that just this once, Anya could skip studying and enjoy quality time with her new pet. Now that the family is complete, some cracks begin to show in the domestic side of things in this episode. Recently, Yor has been coming back home late with cuts on her hand and face, as if she'd failed a mission. Lloyd is very suspicious, and Anya is very worried about her mom. Something's definitely not adding up. Bond shows Anya a vision of Yor crying, which is enough to make everyone scared for her safety. But it turns out Yor has been secretly taking cooking lessons from her coworker named Camilla because of the last breakfast she made that put Lloyd on the toilet seat for an entire day. Wow! Must have been one hell of a concoction. So now She wants to fix that issue before she loses her marriage. Unfortunately, the lessons are going terribly wrong. She cuts through the actual cutting board, and when she cooks, her food makes Camilla and her boyfriend fall to the ground. Yuri, her brother, is the only one who motivates her, saying how her food is incredible, while his body is screaming at how terrible the food is. Brotherly love at its finest, right there. A breakthrough finally comes when Camilla asks about childhood food. Yuri recalls the stew their mother used to make, and they decide to reconstruct it together. Let me just say, Yor nails it. Thank heavens! She finally finishes cooking, and the others taste it, and it's surprisingly good. They're all shocked she actually made something edible. She heads back home and serves her food to Anya and Lloyd. They also like the food, saying it's delicious. She tears down, knowing that her marriage is safe. She then serves them her original dish, and they both collapse in horror. She ruined a perfectly good dinner with her killer food. Meanwhile, Frank has fallen in love with a woman named Monica at his local cigar club. He calls Lloyd to meet him in a dark alley. Frank tells him that he has fallen in love with a girl, and Lloyd gives him a great response.
Okay, best of luck. See ya.
Wait a sec!
He asks for Lloyd's help, who refuses at first, but Frank blackmails him by offering free service. Lloyd gives Frank a conversational flowchart on how to be charming based on her likes and dislikes. He even disguised himself as a lady to practice the conversations with Frank. Finally, the day arrives, and Frank enters the cigar club to talk to his crush. Monica greets him while smiling, making our shy Frank tongue-tied. Bro became a stammerer all of a sudden. Frank meets the forgers out on a walk, looking all down and defeated. Lloyd asks about how the date went.
But she had to run home because she forgot to turn off her gas.
Bro said the girl went home to turn off her gas and believed it. Wow, he doesn't know he's cooked. Monica also promised him another date sometime in the future, another false hope. Anya taps his hand, shocked at what she was hearing, both from Frank and the minds of Lloyd and Yor. I'm sure whatever they were thinking must have been too brutal for Frank to hear. Frank goes to a pub and drinks his sorrows away, crying about the rejection. Lloyd joins him afterwards and explains to him that people in their profession cannot become emotionally attached to others. In this episode, life at Eden picks back up, and Anya is in art class. As she was walking to class with Becky, she drops her family photo, and Becky picks it up. She looks at the photo and starts crushing on Lloyd, like she's just seen the most handsome man on earth. Ugh, girls. She ends up with Damien at the same table, which is a perfect recipe for her to execute Plan B. She offers to help him with his griffin sculpture, the Desmond family crest. How caring of her. Damien doesn't refuse, he just goes red. So that's a yes on his side. She begins unleashing her creativity, which completely destroys Damien's project. She makes jet engines instead of legs, making him mad as hell. Damien yells at her and she cries out loud. Poor Anya. Now Damien is screwed big time. Finally, the board of trustees walks past all the sculptures and begins judging them. Damien is shocked when Henderson tells him that his sculpture won the best of them all. What a twist of events! Seems Anya isn't so useless after all, huh? We also get a peek at Sylvia Sherwood. Her codename is Full Metal Lady. She is a very composed and calculative lady who's always steps ahead of everything. She is Wise's handler, who's always dodging SSS tail agents as part of her daily activities, and she runs a tight operation under constant surveillance. She's a badass! This episode sees the midterms approaching. Literally 2 weeks away. Anya realizes the exams fall on the new moon. The bad news is that her powers don't work during the new moon, so she can't cheat her way to perfect grades. She's in deep trouble. She tries to get Bond to show her the future test questions. Bond instead shows her what they'll be having for dinner. Hamburger. Classic Bond. Later, Yuri comes over to tutor Anya, a situation that involves a spy, a secret police officer, and a telepath who are all pretending to be normal. Anya reads Yuri's mind, and she is just overwhelmed at how much of it is just your. They then begin studying, and Anya reads answers from his mind to impress him. Not surprisingly, Yuri thinks Anya is a genius. Meanwhile, Lloyd breaks into Eden's vault to fix Anya's test scores before they are graded. Shockingly enough, he finds another spy in there, a chaotic noob called Daybreak. He's overconfident, terrible at his job, and a very dramatic fella. Lloyd helps him get into the vault, and instead of thanking him, Daybreak knocks him out and proceeds to give Damien failing grades. To add the cherry on top, he decides to leave his autograph on the changed papers. Bro is willingly snitching on himself. A secret spy leaves traces of his illegal activities. How convenient. Lloyd fixes everything, though. He gives Damien good scores, since if he gets expelled, it'll jeopardize the mission. When the results are announced, Lloyd becomes mad at Anya's results, but he accepts them since his mission is still safe as long as Damien has passed. The dust from the previous episode's midterms has barely even settled when a bitter classmate decides to make Damien pay for the sins of his family. There's Anya's classmate, called George Glooman. The kid is literally gloomy all the time, like his name. He had been mad since the midterms. His father's pharmaceutical company was driven out of business by the Desmond Group, and George took it personally. He's decided the best way to get revenge is to make sure Damien gets expelled from school. He hired the noob spy to change his grades and fail him, but we know how that turned out, thanks to our able spy, Lloyd. He decides to devise another plan. As Damien is passing him, he drops a cigarette butt and claims it was Damien's. He fakes getting punched and calls a teacher. Such a gloomy kid. Anya reads their minds and knows exactly what is happening. Nobody is fooling her. She steps in and tells the teacher what actually happened. The teacher backs off and George is left crying. The story finally comes out. His family is dead broke, and he's leaving Eden. His life is basically over. Damien, who was just about to be framed by this gloomy kid a while back, buys him juice and caviar. He then lets him wear his Stella star for a minute, and the class sings the school chorus for George. How sweet! When George meets his dad in the evening, he informs him that the Desmond Group actually saved their company, and George will return to school the next day as usual. And he's surprised by the turnout of these events. He shows up to school in the morning, shivering in embarrassment. He thought he would leave Eden, but here he is, back like he never left. His classmates tell him to return everything, but Damien just tells him to pay back the juice. What a welcome! The next day, Anya rushes to catch the school bus on time as she leaves. Yor goes into her room to find her gym clothes on the desk. She'd forgotten them. The thought of Anya being expelled sends her into active mode, and she sprints to Eden to deliver them. Not your usual sprinting. She swings across buildings and rooftops to get there faster. She makes it to school and finds Anya and hands over the uniform. Anya tells her that they don't have PE that day. She falls to the ground looking defeated. All of that effort for nothing? I'd cry too. She walks out of the school frustrated. Lloyd, who was there on a mission, sees the whole thing, and he thanks her and takes her out to lunch. Still riding the high of saving Damien, in this episode, Anya tags along with Lloyd to Berlin Hospital for her career report, and immediately starts causing problems. She also goes to Yor and reads her mind, and she was thinking about how bringing Anya to her assassination job is not something great for a school report. Imagine the chaos it would cause if she actually submitted that. At Berlin Hospital, Lloyd begins showing Anya around. The staff loves her. Anya writes down both Lloyd's legitimate psychiatry work and his actual spy thoughts because, well, she can hear them both. Anya is left in Lloyd's office, and she stays true to her curiosity. She discovers a hidden escape tunnel in his office bookshelf. She crawls through it and gets her leg stuck in some pipe while eavesdropping on a meeting. She makes weird noises and convinces a room full of scientists that the hospital is haunted. She manages to break free and gets back before Lloyd returns. She was tasked with making a sand table, and it looks like a psychological disaster. He uses Anya's presentation to make an assessment of her mental state. Lloyd concludes that she is subconsciously stressed by her adoption and blames himself for her mental state. Lloyd offers to help Anya put her report together after dinner. Later, when Anya presents her school report to the class, she starts off pretty well, with Anya saying Lloyd is a mental health specialist who helps people with troubled minds. And then, Anya includes several weird activities and the fact that Lloyd sometimes kicks his patients. Henderson is beyond shocked and summons Lloyd to school after hearing Anya's violent report. But as usual, Lloyd talks himself out of it, thanks to his superb eloquence. Anya, while watching her favorite spy movie, sees a spy use a coded message and recreates the code herself. She gives it to Frankie, Bond, neighbors, Damien, and Becky. Damien throws it away immediately. Meanwhile, Frankie thinks it's a love letter from a secret admirer. Bro's delusional. He solves the code overnight and shows up at the rendezvous point in a full suit with roses. He waits on the spot, looking confused. He doesn't know he's holding flowers requested by a 6-year-old who's still snoring peacefully in bed. The episode introduces us to Fiona Frost, codename Nightfall.
They call her ruthless, cold-blooded, and brazen. Codename Nightfall. A woman driven by ambition.
She is Lloyd's wise colleague, and she wants the wife role. She is secretly in love with him, though she never shows it because she never shows any emotion on her face. She shows up at the Forger apartment while Lloyd is away, pretending that she's returning something Anya left at the hospital. But her actual plan is to convince Yor to quit voluntarily. Fiona begins her guilt-tripping journey. She tells Yor about the hardships of raising a child. Yor claps back and says she loves spending time with Anya, and her bubbly personality excites her. Fiona says that Lloyd complains about her at work. Lloyd, however, arrives before she can finish her narrative. They greet each other, and Anya reads Fiona's mind and discovers that she's a spy who is deeply in love with Lloyd. The Romeo and Juliet type of love.
Codename Nightfall. A woman driven by ambition, specifically to marry Twilight.
Fiona imagines replacing Yor and running a very strict schedule that transforms her into a Stella star machine. This scares the bollocks out of Anya. She cannot let this strict woman become her mother. She grabs Yor and calls her the best mother in the whole wide world. Seeing this makes Fiona boil inside. She leaves in defeat. Lloyd thanks Yor for working so hard, and she tears up. Later on, Lloyd walks Fiona to the station, and she tells him that they've been assigned a mission together. In the rain, she turns to him with with a genuinely sad expression, and she's grateful that the rain hides it from him. This is the most emotion we've seen from her, and she makes the decision to prove herself better than Yor. Anya is watching a television show that makes her sad over the death of one of the penguin characters. That night, she requests to sleep with her stuffed penguin. Bond is mad jealous and decides to destroy the stuffed animal overnight. Anya wakes up screaming, thinking that it's dead. She yells at Bond, who acts clueless. Yor promises to restore the penguin, but ends up making it worse. Lloyd fixes it and gives it back to Anya. Bond apologizes using a peanut offering, and everyone is back to being happy. In this episode, Wise has some intel about the location of the Zachary's dossier, a collection of war secrets that could restart the conflict between the East and the West. The painting belongs to an art collector named Kavi Campbell, who hosts an underground tennis tournament where the winner chooses whatever piece they want from his collection. Lloyd and Fiona enter the tournament disguised as a married couple. Fiona is excited by this arrangement since she gets to spend time with Lloyd as her lover. However, Lloyd is entirely focused on the mission. They begin playing the game. Fiona goes absolutely feral trying to impress Lloyd with every shot. She imagines him sweeping her off her feet mid-match and showering her with love. Lloyd calmly wins his games and tells her to tone it down a little bit. She listens, but only for a while. Then she goes feral again. They make their way through their opponents, some washed up Grand Slam pros, 2 men on some experimental steroids, and they're eventually up against Campbell's own children, Carol and Kim. The 2 children are like the top of the tennis hierarchy. Their skills are unmatched, and they prove as worthy opponents to Lloyd and Fiona. Meanwhile, Yor is at the park with Anya and Bond, and she is silently spiraling about whether Fiona is replacing her. She doesn't want to go back to her past life with Yuri constantly worrying about her. Anya reads her mind and smartly calms her down by saying Lloyd will win and beat anyone up. So they both cheer for Lloyd in the park. The finals are between the Campbell children and the phony pair, our 2 spies. The Campbell children have a few tricks up their sleeves, and they had gassed their waiting room before the match to weaken them. Winning is everything to these kids. Picking up from where we left off in the previous episode, the final tennis match gets hotter and hotter between the 2 teams. Lloyd and Fiona work their way through every trick the Campbell kids throw at them. From sinking tiles to adjusting the height of the net, whatever they throw at Lloyd and Fiona, they manage to counter it. They even go further and use wind machines and stink spray on the balls. And that's not even it. They have snipers around, and one of them uses a rubber bullet to shoot Fiona. Lloyd jumps in and saves her from it. Despite all these challenges, they adapt and fight their way through, dodging the rubber bullets and predicting the incoming threats.
Is this the legendary drunkenness style of the Far East?
What the hell's the matter with you?
And in the end, they win the championship. Campbell sinks into his chair in defeat after losing 10 million Dalk on his own children. Dalk is the official currency for both Westalis and Ostania. 1 Dalk is equivalent to 320 Japanese yen. They choose their prize, the Lady in the Sun. But there's a problem. Campbell tells them that he cannot give them the painting, since the SSS is on its way to pick it up. Lloyd quietly slips away undetected and disguises himself as Campbell's secretary. He swaps the real painting for a fake one he had already prepared in advance. Smart move. The SSS comes and picks up the fake, and Lloyd walks Fiona out in a secretary disguise. She wonders how he managed to pull such a stunt, and he smiles nonchalantly. Mission complete. They go to the park, and then Fiona challenges Yor to a tennis match. Yor is Fiona's freaked out about being replaced, so she accepts. She swings the first serve so hard that the ball is shredded into pieces. Even Fiona is baffled. Yor decides to hold back on the second swing. The ball, however, moves faster than the speed of sound and straight into Fiona's racket.
Your head in the game, Nightfall. Put up that racket for protection at least, or you'll die!
She tries controlling the ball, but it is too strong for her. It breaks her racket and Fiona falls to the ground. Everyone is shocked by Yor's power. Yor rushes to see if Fiona is okay, and after that, Fiona declares a revenge match in the future and drives off in tears. The mission ends with a twist, though. It turns out that the Zachary's dossier isn't just war secrets. It's a collection of theater actress postcards that a dead colonel hid from his wife. All that effort was because of a marital conflict. Yikes. After the tennis incident, Yor has been walking around with the face of a woman who just got dumped, despite winning the challenge Fiona posed. The neighbors assume Lloyd is cheating and call him all sorts of names. Lloyd decides to take Yor to a bar to clear things up. Within seconds, Yor is convinced he's about to replace her with Fiona. That is when Lloyd realizes Yor is just jealous. He decides to activate Operation Honey Trap to woo Yor by being romantic and all lovey-dovey. Just a fancy name for being romantic to Yor. Typical spy. Everything is in operation to him. Yor's emotions go on a roller coaster as he watches Lloyd become all romantic with her. She gives him one hell of a kick that sends him airborne. He lands on his feet, a little bit shaky, and passes out. She carries him to a park and sings a lullaby while he sleeps. He finally wakes up, and Lloyd gets honest with Yor that he doesn't intend to replace her. She tears down and says she will stay by his side. Aww. They arrive home, and Lloyd has a huge bump on his chin. Frankie laughs his brains off when he sees Lloyd.
Why don't you take a gander up close?
Stop. No way. Don't touch it.
The next day, Yor is shocked to see Lloyd with a bump on his chin. She has completely forgotten what happened the previous night. Meanwhile, in school, Becky takes Anya shopping to make Damien fall in love with her. She literally rents out an entire store. Money talks. Becky then tries on several outfits together with Anya. Anya gives up after trying several outfits, saying fashion is hard. Anya goes ahead and gets herself a cheap sheep keychain from the mascot shop. She gets one for Becky, but Becky's father tells her to never wear anything cheap. However, Becky's butler, Martha, tells her to take it. On the way home, Martha watches them and smiles. Anya is the first real friend Becky has ever had. In this episode, the Imperial Scholar Mixer is happening at Eden, and it is one of the most locked down events of the year. Lloyd has been trying to find a way into it for a long time. Today, he doesn't go in. He watches from outside and waits for Donovan to come out. Damien has arranged through his older brother Demetrius to meet Donovan in the courtyard after the mixer ends. Demetrius is an Imperial scholar and way cooler than Damien, by the way. But when the moment arrives, Damien freezes and decides his father is way too busy for the likes of him. He turns around to leave, but Anya stops him. She tells him she is also scared of Lloyd and doesn't always know what he thinks of her. It's a really messed up speech. But Anya, being Anya, manages to convince Damien to meet his father. Lloyd is watching all of this in the shadows. He places a fake keychain on the ground for the boys to find, then walks into the courtyard pretending to look for it. The boys recognize Anya's dad. Lloyd kneels before Damien and apologizes for Anya's rude behavior, and right on time, Donovan arrives. For the first time ever, Donovan and Lloyd are meeting face to face. Lloyd doesn't learn much from meeting Donovan. The man is guarded and impossible to read. They engage in a conversation, and Lloyd uses the momentum to praise Damien to his father, calling him a brilliant son. Donovan thanks Lloyd for his time and leaves. Donovan says he's proud of his son, and this makes Damien very excited. It definitely motivates him to do better. It might be a small thing, but for Damien, it meant everything. Lloyd heads home and finds Anya asleep on the couch with Bond, muttering in her sleep that she and Lloyd will fight the superboss together. Lloyd stands there clueless, and he looks an awful lot like a dad rather than a spy. And this is how we end Season 1. The first episode of Season 2 begins with Yor coming back from an assassination job with cuts on her hands and face that suggest something has gone completely wrong. Lloyd reads her mood immediately and wrongly interprets them. He assumes she's upset because he asked her to run errands. He spends the whole night trying to figure out how to fix the issue. The truth is that she got shot in the back by a survivor of her assassination job, and she's in severe pain. It's basically a workplace accident. Anya reads Bond's vision of Yor crying, making her equally worried as well. Lloyd then comes up with a solution. Take Yor on a date. He had prepared a whopping 862 date ideas. She can't sit down because of the injury, which eliminates most of the date ideas. Instead of driving, they take a stroll. Anya and Frankie decide to stalk them discreetly since Anya is worried about them. Lloyd takes her to the mall, a cinema, a pond, a spa, and a zoo. You can't enjoy all of those without sitting at some point, so Lloyd thinks he's failing. Next, they go to a restaurant, and Yor finally sits down, though she's in severe pain. Suddenly, a surviving member of the Red Circus, an extremist group of terrorists, recognizes Yor as the Thorn Princess and vows to kill her. The man poisons her cocktails with blowfish venom and then serves them to her. Yor drinks it, and to his surprise, the blowfish venom does more good than harm. Instead of the poison killing her, it numbs the bullet wound. You see, Yor has built up immunity against all sorts of poisons. Yor becomes cheerful and chatty, making Lloyd proud of himself. The assassin decides to make an improvised bomb to end Yor, but his plan is quickly thwarted by Anya, who sabotages him using olive oil and creative booby traps. Close enough. Welcome back, Kevin McAllister. This guy is shocked to find a kid is behind all of this. Anya threatens him and mentions his girlfriend by name. The assassin is left utterly shocked that Anya knows his girlfriend, and he falls down unconscious. The next morning, the medicine poison wears off, and Yor is in pain once again. Lloyd is, again, caught in the crossfire. Episode 2 starts off with Bond having a vision of total darkness, and concludes that Yor's food will be the death of him. Literally. He isn't wrong though, but also he can't refuse the food because Anya once told him that Yor will kill him if he makes her upset. Bond is facing death in both directions. He only has one option: find Lloyd. He unlocks the front door and goes to find Lloyd. He tracks Lloyd to a pharmaceutical facility where he's trying to steal a truth serum called the Garalimus. He uses his future sight to help Lloyd navigate the building and leaves a decoy note to get a locker open. They also take out the staff together. The perfect teammates. Lloyd assumes Bond wants revenge on the scientist who experimented on him at Project Apple. Bond just wants someone else to make his dinner. A very simple creature he is. Meanwhile, at school, Damien oversleeps and gets punished with chores. His two partners in crime, Ewan and Emil, do not want to enjoy the movies without him, so they get punished as well, on purpose, so they can stay by his side. Mr. Henderson watches all this and thinks it's one of the most elegant things he's seen in a while. He adds another punishment for all three: going on a field trip with the school groundskeeper, Mr. Green. Mr. Green takes them canoeing and fishing, a bit of an adventure away from school desks. They eat what they catch, and the boys get a taste of the camp life. They return to school, and Mr. Green reports to Henderson. He reviews Damien's field report and notes that it's disappointingly brief. In the next episode, Yuri gets an assignment to investigate a former journalist named Franklin Perkin, who's been writing an anti-Oceanian article for Westalis publications. He follows the man for days on end, documenting everything he does. But when he overhears Franklin talking to his father about wanting to make the country better for their family, it kinda hits him. Yuri tears that page out of his report before submitting it. Franklin sends the article he crafted the night before, titled "Overcome by Poverty. Street Children Dig Through Trash for Scraps." Apparently, he tricked children by throwing their toy in a garbage dump and taking pictures of them searching for it. This seals his arrest. Yuri shows up at his house and waits outside to arrest him. He does this so Franklin's family doesn't have to watch his arrest. After his arrest, Yuri quietly arranges financial assistance for Franklin's father. After that, Yuri goes to the Forger apartment wanting to see his sister. Anya reads his mind and proceeds to pat him. Yor pats him as well and bursts with excitement. We catch up with Anya watching the latest episode of Spy Wars, where Bondman is on a mission with his partner, Agent M, who professes her love for him. She is so deeply engrossed in the show. When it ends, she comments that it must be one of those lovey-dovey shows that she can talk about with Becky. In the post-credits scene, Anya rides a panda plush at the department store until Lloyd agrees to let her go again. She discovers the hard way that pool water and the thoughts of kids wanting to pee are a terrible combination for a telepath. Meanwhile, Damien is up studying to prove that his oversleeping was a one-time thing. While across town, Lloyd is desperately trying to drag Anya out of bed before she misses the school bus. And she misses the school bus. In this episode, new kind of chaos takes over Eden. And this time, it has nothing to do with Tony Truce bolts or art projects. Legend has it that a mysterious pastry chef appears at random in the cafeteria and sells macarons that are so good that most students who eat them become imperial scholars. Holy macarons! Anya hears about this and immediately visualizes her path to stardom. Together with Becky and Damien, they all sprint to the cafeteria, only to find George Glooman already holding the last box. What a bummer! Everyone is disappointed at George for finishing all the macarons, since he owed a lot of people favors due to their earlier bankruptcy incident. So he decides to give 4 of the 5 macarons. There are 5 kids and 4 pieces. This is gonna be a tricky one. The kids decide to play games to decide who will be taking the pieces. They play Old Maid, a card game. Anya uses her telepathy to win the first round. Damien immediately suspects she's somehow reading minds, making Anya shocked, surprised Pikachu face. She panics and decides to dumb herself down a bit for the sake of her secrets. They continue playing, and eventually Damien loses and he doesn't get the macaron. Anya offers to give Damien hers, but he gets angry and storms off, saying she needs it more since she's stupid. All Anya did was be generous to her mans. Why you gotta be so rude? Anya begins studying for 2 days with the energy of someone who truly believes the food upgraded her brain mind. She feels as though she has gained super intelligence. Her quiz test scores say the exact opposite though. They're just as terrible as before. Poor Anya. She thought she'd become Albert Einstein overnight. At home, Lloyd and Yor go over Anya's quiz results while she sulks in her room. Lloyd notices she actually did well on her classical language, which is odd because they barely covered it in class. He shrugs it off and cheers Anya with hamburger steak for dinner. Meanwhile, Frankie needs a favor from Lloyd to help him find a missing cat named Colby. Lloyd refuses. Frankie then runs into Yor, who agrees to help him. They set up a catnip device that attracts every cat in the neighborhood except the right one. Frankie breaks out his exoskeleton power suit. Colby runs down a busy street, and Yor tears off a chunk of the suit to stop Colby. 10 years of Frank's work gone in a single throw. But they caught Colby, so it cancels out. He returns the Colby to Casey, but he discovers she already has a boyfriend. Poor Frankie. He walks around the corner and cries. Back at City Hall, Yor is in a great mood, and then her phone rings. The caller asks for the Thorn Princess. She now has a new client. From the ending of episode 4's phone call, Yor gets a new job. Protect Olka Gretcher and her son Graham during a cruise ship crossing. Olka is the surviving heir of a black market family being hunted by assassins hired by the new gang leader who took over their black market business. Yor's cover-up story is a work trip with colleagues from City Hall. The timing lines up perfectly since Anya just won a cruise prize in a raffle. Well, she used her telepathy to pull the winning ticket, so yeah. Anya can't wait to get on a cruise ship. By sheer coincidence, the Forgers and Yor's missions are on the same ship. Anya is the most excited of them all. Yor, on the other hand, is stressed out. Lloyd gets time off after being approved by Sylvia. On the ship, Lloyd and Anya are in 3rd class, which Anya describes as a prison, but she changes her mind because of the bunk bed. It'll be her first time sleeping on the top bunk bed. Kids. Yor is in 1st class with her colleagues and Olka's group. Yor inspects the suite, learns about Olka's situation, and takes her for a short walk on deck. While they're outside, a listening bug planted by an informant captures their conversation and identifies the cabin number they're staying in. Their location is shared with assassins who have also boarded the ship. This is gonna be one hell of a cruise. This is the episode where the assassins move fast. We start off in Berlin, where Camilla, Millie, and Sharon are at the pub, living their best life on a luxury cruise ship. They are not wrong though. Yor is at a fancy dinner with her City Hall group and Olka's family. They finish dinner, and Yor escorts Olka back to her room and warns her that trouble is most likely coming the next day. Olka asks if Yor will get to spend time with her family at the resort island stop, and Yor hesitates. Meanwhile, down at the buffet on the lower deck, Anya is feasting on everything. Lloyd admits to feeling lonely since Yor is absent. Yor's mission supervisor, Matthew McCann, interrogates an assassin and learns the full picture. There are multiple hitmen on board, acting independently and are all competing for the bounty. In Olka's cabin, a fake room service attendant knocks on the door. Yor's senses are tingling as she gets closer to the door. She hears a gun click and immediately jumps and dives down together with the Olka family. Gunshots ring through the room, and as the shooter is reloading, backup arrives and distracts the shooter. Yor throws a knife straight into the shooter's head, pinning him to the wall. Elsewhere, the informant briefs a group of assassins about the target and confirms that Olka and her guards have started switching rooms after the fake room service guy made contact. One of the members proposes killing every woman on the ship with a baby and is quickly killed and thrown overboard. No psychopaths on this crew. The assassin leader reminds them to be discreet. They head to the masquerade ball on the lower deck. 2 assassins try to make their move on them. Yor spots the first assassin and drops him with a button. Yeah, a button. She flicked from across the room. As the second one is almost approaching Olka, Yor tightly grabs him by the hands and sways him away from the target, easily knocking him out. Very discreet, very demure, very mindful. With that settled, she returns to the group as if nothing happened. Down in the ship promenade, Lloyd and Anya cross paths with the sickle and chain Barnaby, a skilled assassin who spots Yor's group and moves in. Anya reads his mind and realizes what is about to happen and that it's something really bad. She keeps Lloyd in the fitting room to buy time, and meanwhile, Barnaby passes Yor and immediately swings at her. She dodges the attack skillfully and turns back to face him. Bro's aura is strong as hell. The clash of the assassins continues in this episode.
You won't let me near him.
Yor and Barnaby battle it out at the promenade. A crowd gathers around them, curious about what is going on. Anya, who is among the crowd, convinces them that it's just a circus performance. Yor subdues Barnaby and ties him using his own chain. She then bows to the crowd, and they applaud, impressed by her acrobatic skills. Lloyd walks out of the fitting room looking like a fashion disaster.
You're so uncool. It hurts.
Meanwhile, the assassin leader breaks into Olka's old cabin and sniffs the room. Yeah, sniffs. Like a dog. He identifies each person by scent and notes that Yor has none. He then radios the informant. Olka's group huddles up in a new room. A member of her security detail named Zeb explains to Olka why he's protecting them. During the war, when he had nothing to eat, young Olka secretly gave them bread. Since then, he has been loyal to them. Matthew returns and warns Yor to stay sharp and vigilant. Lloyd spends day 2 trying to genuinely understand Anya. He watches her, adjusts to her, and plays miniature golf with her. Lloyd gets a hole-in-one on every single attempt, while Anya struggles to get even one ball in. They go for dinner, and Anya admits she misses Yor dearly.
Things are better when Papa and Mama are both around. And if I can go help her, they'll be able to stay around.
Lloyd understands her and promises to send a message to the concierge asking if she can meet them the following day. Unfortunately, the informant, called Snoops, intercepts the signal confirming Olka's escape and passes it to the assassin leader. The battle rages on in episode 8. It's fireworks night on the ship. Yor moves Olka towards the rendezvous point. As they're walking, they pass by the assassin leader, who catches their scent and rejoices that he finally has them. Above deck, fireworks begin. Right in the middle of the noise and blasts of the fireworks, a sniper takes a shot at Olka. Yor pulls her clear and takes a slight graze to her arm. She returns the shot to the sniper using her own weapon. Yor is one hell of an assassin. And it's at that time that all assassins show themselves in a full circle surrounding them. Matthew takes out the sniper and blows the hatch open. Olka gets safely inside and the hatch is closed by Zeb. Yor is happy that they're safe in the hatch and begins dealing with the assassins one after another. Yor fights through all sorts of weapons, from claws and gas to electric batons. Matthew follows behind, cleaning up Yor's bloody mess. They fight their way through the assassins as fireworks blast above them. Others are celebrating the fireworks display and winning in casinos, while others are busy fighting for their lives. And then the swordsman pulls up. He's built different. They engage in a bloody battle, and honestly speaking, the swordsman is too powerful for Yor to beat. She is defeated and on the brink of death by the swordsman. The assassin leader walks away to go and kill Olka. Yor throws an earring at him, and he stops, staggered, and drained. Yor thinks about why she became an assassin. She thinks about Yuri, Lloyd, and Anya, and how she owes them a lot, and how they all love her. This makes her grip the swordsman's blade and shatter it with her bare hands. Wow. She charges towards him and gives him the heaviest kick known to man. He falls hard, and the fight is over. In the meantime, Yuri catches a cold while Yor is away and drinks her awful herbal tea through sheer willpower and love. The next episode starts off with Lloyd spotting SSS agents in an alley, acting strangely and reading their lips. Apparently, there's a bomb on the ship. Damn, where does this end? It's always problem after problem after problem. Lloyd drops Anya at the ship's daycare and moves fast. However, Anya's easily bored and escapes the daycare. Anya runs through the whole ship looking for Yor. She picks up the informant's thoughts and finds out where the fight is happening. On the way, she finds Yor's knife on the floor. She pulls it out and throws it up to the roof deck where Yor is fighting the swordsman. It doesn't land anywhere near the fight, but all hope is not lost. The knife trips an assassin who is heading for the hatch. He falls down and accidentally fires his gun into his partner's leg, knocking both of them out. A beautiful accident indeed. The knife bounces and stabs the first man in the backside. Ow. Yor gets her weapon back and charges at the swordsman. She finally manages to put him down. Impressive. In other news, Matthew recovers, while Olka and her kid are safe and sound. Meanwhile, on the ship, Lloyd manages to disarm the bomb. Lloyd suspects that there's another bomb, and it turns out he's right. The informant planted another bomb inside a clock in the atrium to sink the ship. Anya overhears the plan as she passes him. She tips a crewman of the bugger in the clock. Lloyd maneuvers to find the bomb and rushes outside with it. He hurls it away from the ship, and it detonates right above the informant and the assassin leader, who were on a raft arguing. Good riddance. With the bomb situation resolved, Lloyd picks up Anya from the daycare, who is dead asleep, and catches himself thinking about how he abandoned his family once again. He quickly corrects his thoughts, reminding himself that they are on a mission. He spirals even more, trying to figure out what this mission even is. By morning, the third and final day of the cruise has arrived, and the forgers are ready for the resort island, especially Anya, who is jumping with excitement. This is the chillest episode so far. The forgers finally get a breather. The ship reaches the resort island. The forgers reunite. Anya is over the moon upon seeing her mother. Yor's face is swollen, but she comes up with a smart excuse.
The couple we were entertaining got into this nasty argument, and when I tried to stop them,
I see.
The family spends their day together doing fun activities, ziplining, tandem bike riding, cave exploring, and other fun stuff. Anya plays with some sheep and compares them to Bond. Yor and Lloyd watch over her, smiling. One big happy family. They go surfing and snorkeling, and when they're all done, Yor is completely exhausted. She hasn't slept for a couple of days because of fighting. She sleeps on Lloyd's shoulder, and Anya follows after. He carries both of them to the ship. They depart the resort and head back home. Lloyd meets Sylvia to debrief on the ship's explosion. Several passengers traveled using fake passports, and Lois suspects the whole operation was designed to ignite conflict between Westalis and Ostania. They also suspect that a third party was involved. Sylvia tells Lloyd to keep an eye for Ostania simultaneous extremist movements before they derail Operation Strix. Back at home, Yor, Anya, and Bond are all asleep in the living room, with Anya's drawing of the crew's adventure sitting nearby. Yor returns to work and brings skeletal keychains for her co-workers, who are quite underwhelmed, but they choose to keep them anyway. Yuri is thrilled that Yor is finally home, but his mood darkens when he realizes that Lloyd is also back. Anya returns to school and tries to impress her classmates with stories from her cruise. Becky says that she stayed in the Imperial suite on the same ship before the school year had started. The boys brag about how they spent their breaks. Anya lies about meeting some insane people, but her lie catches up with her after lying too much. George warns her not to lie too much, or she'll end up a loner like him. Back at home, Anya tells the adults what happened at school. Lloyd, Yuri, and Yor tell her that lying is wrong. Quite the irony, since all of them are privately justifying their own lies in their heads at the same time. Anya concludes that being a liar is one rough affair. Now this episode is quite surprising and funny. Becky has a serious crush on Lloyd. She has been crushing on him ever since she saw his photo all the way back in episode 17. She's even been watching a romance show, Berlin in Love, for guidance on how to be romantic. Anya reads Becky's mind and briefly considers helping her, mostly because Becky's internal monologue includes how much richer and flashier Anya's life would be. She helps for a while before going against the idea. Lloyd talks to Becky while fishing for intel on her father's company. Becky, on the other hand, thinks he's flirting with her. Yor comes home and Becky takes the competition a notch higher. She pretends to be tipsy from the tea and gets closer to Lloyd.
So you were just playing games with my heart?
What could you possibly mean by that, Becky?
Yor immediately assumes she accidentally got a child drunk, and she gets paranoid and grabs Becky. Yor carries Becky and rushes to the hospital, leaving Lloyd and Anya in shock. On the way to the hospital, Yor spots a car heading straight for them. She tosses Becky into the air, dodges the car like it's nothing, and catches her on the way down, all without breaking a sweat. Becky tells her to stop. She straight up confesses the truth and apologizes. Yor isn't even angry at her though. She's just glad that she's okay. At the end of the day, Yor is teaching Becky how to throw a punch, and Becky's butler, Martha, watches keenly. At the Wise safe house, we learn that while Lloyd was on the cruise, Fiona covered the missions on her own and then spent the rest of the time training in the mountains to defeat Yor at tennis. She still hasn't healed. Anyway, she meets Lloyd, who gives her leftover cruise souvenirs. She accepts them and gives him a deep stare. She walks out of the office and hops happily, singing about how much she loves Lloyd. This is the episode where Lloyd decides to make Bond useful by taking him for training in the park. He realizes that scent and explosives detection are triggering bad memories from Project Apple. With Frankie acting as the target, Frankie tells Lloyd to take him for a normal walk and make it fun. During the walk, Bond keeps having visions and keeps trying to prevent them. He tries to stop a kid from dropping ice cream and, well, that doesn't really go as planned. He trips the kid and the ice cream falls anyway. He also saves an old man from a bicycle and Lloyd scolds him for biting strangers. He sees a third vision, but chooses to ignore it because he imagines Lloyd being mad at him and giving him away. Suddenly, Bond smells an apartment fire before it's even visible and makes a run for it. He drags Lloyd with him, who wonders what is wrong with this dog. He cuts his leash and races inside the burning building. Bond finds a pug named Daisy who's been left behind. Bond and Lloyd find their way out of the burning house and take Daisy to safety. Outside, Bond chases the arsonist and bites his leg. The man's bag spills open and all his his equipment falls to the ground. He takes out a knife, and as he's about to stab Bond, Lloyd arrives just in time to knock him out. Lloyd thanks Bond and tells him that his family duties come first. He apologizes for putting training before that, and he promises to take him to the dog park tomorrow, and Bond is more than excited. At home, Anya reads Lloyd's mind and learns what actually happened. She gives Lloyd and Bond paper Stella stars, and they all sit together and have dinner. The first episode of season 3 begins with the Forgers on a rare day off at the park. Lloyd is doing quite well for himself as a family man. He's trying to show the world that they are one big happy family. Anya is excited about seeing balloons. Suddenly, Bond has a vision of an excavator going nuts and hurting people. Anya immediately makes up an excuse about wanting to go home and study for Stella stars. Lloyd and Yor are genuinely moved by this, since she's never volunteered to study a single time. Meanwhile, there's a grumpy, bitter construction worker who's working alone on a holiday shift. He's so mad that he is the only one working while the rest are enjoying their holiday with their loved ones. The Forgers pass by the construction site, and Anya sees the bitter guy. Lloyd looks at his pale face and concludes he's under immense stress. The last straw comes when he falls off the excavator, and that's when something snaps. He goes berserk and starts rampaging through the site with the heavy machinery. He begins to head for the park. Lloyd springs into action and hops into another excavator to stop him. They fight using excavators.
Very well then.
Yor saves an elderly man from falling debris and lies to Anya that she learned this at the circus. Lloyd finally defeats the madman, and after that, Anya and Bond silently celebrate saving the day. At the Wise location, Fiona and Frankie get paired for a side mission. A corrupt Ostanian official has been illegally blocking strawberry exports, and the crisis lands on Wise's desk the moment the foreign minister's birthday cake arrives with 0 strawberries on it. To prevent a full diplomatic meltdown, Wise needs a forged state seal to push through a fake export license. Fiona goes to Frankie, who's set up several booby traps and riddles outside his door. Typical Frankie, but the traps are a piece of cake for our abled Fiona. Later on, Fiona and Frankie head to the nightclub to meet a counterfeiter named the Quill. Frankie introduces her as his girlfriend to everyone he knows. People are shocked that Frankie has a girlfriend. It's almost a miracle. They meet the Quill and tell him the offer and the job. He declines, saying it's too little pay. On the way out, Fiona realizes they're being trailed by unknown men. They conclude it's likely from the SSS. One agent in front of them attacks the Quill, and Fiona jumps in with a kick to stop him. They fight their way through other agents and make it to safety. The Quill, now indebted to them, takes up the job, and days later, Frankie hands Fiona the forged documents at his tobacco stand. She asks him if he has any connections to art forgers and safecrackers, but Frankie is scared that he might lose all his friends if he keeps hanging out with her. In this episode, we get introduced to one of the strictest teachers ever. Madame Donna has returned to Eden. She is a living legend, rumored to have expelled over 100 students single-handedly. She even has a nickname among the students, Old Lady Tonitrus. The lady has infinite aura.
Old Lady Tonitrus is coming!
You'd better run while you can. My class looks like a disaster zone after she passed through.
Donna bags each classroom. She hands out Tonitrus bolts for snacks, playing cards, unkempt uniforms, and even not carrying a handkerchief. Thonitrus bolts are demerit medals that act as disciplinary marks for poor performance or misconduct. Basically, negative aura. She is handing it to them like candy to children. She tells the story of a student who forgot his handkerchief, wiped his hands on his pants, and earned the nickname Mr. Pee Pants. He didn't stop there though. He got expelled, joined an anti-government group, and got arrested by the SSS. What a wild turn of events. On hearing this, all students check their pockets in terror. Damien reaches out for his and finds nothing. Anya reads Damien's mind and discovers how a single Thonitrus bolt would stop him from facing his father, putting Plan B in jeopardy. She gives Damien her handkerchief. He shows it to Donna, who asks what the A embroidered on it stands for. He says it's the A in Damien. He passes the handkerchief test, but Donna is still mad suspicious about it. Anya is up next. She steps forward confidently, and it dawns on her that she never had another handkerchief. Donna's suspicion was right after all. Damien almost confesses, but Anya tells him not to. She gets a Thonitrus bolt instead of Damien. Anya saved Damien from getting one too since she'd read his mind, and Donna was planning on giving one to both of them. Damien swears to repay Anya, and she's excited, thinking she's gonna get cake for it. She goes home and tells Lloyd about it, who's happy to hear that, but he spots the Thonitrus bolt and faints in shock. Lloyd is deep in dreamland, having flashbacks of his childhood. Some children are playing a war game in Westalian town called Luen. One of the boys is a quick thinker and turns every moment of loss into victory. He plays the role of advisor in the game. That kid would grow up to be Lloyd Forger. He goes home and asks his father for some money to purchase a book. Instead, he goes to buy a soldier set. He's scared of telling his father his dream of becoming a soldier. He goes to town and talks with an elderly woman, and just as they're talking, the first bomb fell, and then the second one falls just next to him. A big chunk of rubble hits his head, and he falls down. After the explosion in the previous episode, Lloyd wakes up to find Luen in ruins. The place is completely destroyed and looks like a war zone. His mother finds him and evacuates him to his relatives in Kielburg. Lloyd watches his town go to ashes and vows to tell his father the truth when he returns. An air raid hits Kielburg. Lloyd runs out of the shelter to find his mother and their home gone. He is now alone. For the next few years, he survives on his own. Then joins the army under a fake name and age, taking the alias Laurent Spoofy. He goes to war and wins many battles. He keeps wondering how many more bodies he has to step over before things get better. One night in the mountains during battle, he stumbles across Frankie, an Ostanian deserter who is begging not to be killed because he hasn't been with a woman yet. Surprisingly, Lloyd finds it funny enough to spare him. As they're talking, Frankie makes a point that sticks with Lloyd. War is pointless, caused by a diplomatic mistake forcing people to kill each other. Soldiers pursuing Frankie interrupt them, and they both make a run for it. Lloyd gets pulled from the front line to recover, and he reunites with his 3 childhood friends. He breaks down when he sees them, having assumed that they were dead. He invites them to dinner, and they say that they're being deployed tonight. They don't return. Only their dog tags do. He looks at the tags and decides he knows nothing about the war he's fighting. He just picked up a gun because someone told him to hate another person. Lloyd is found by military intelligence, and they know he enlisted under a fake name. He gives him 2 ultimatums: either join the military intelligence as a spy or face a court-martial for impersonation. Lloyd agrees to join them, saying he doesn't care about his name, country, or winning the war. The military intelligence guy asks Lloyd why he's agreeing to it, and he says there is no reason. His commanding officer is Sylvia Sherwood, who informs him that she will make him a first-rate intelligence officer through the harshest possible means available. This shocks him, and Lloyd finally wakes up on the couch, drenched in sweat. Anya and Yor stare at him. What a dream! In this episode, a famous Ostanian opera singer, Jonas Wellman, is scheduled for a cultural exchange trip to Westales that could actually improve East-West relations. All at once, a wave of scandals is released about him, from affairs and discrimination to organized crime and threats, among others. Basically, it's like they've been waiting on that particular moment to unleash hell. Wise scrambles desperately to stop the stories from reaching Westales. Sylvia lectures a rookie agent who refuses to help because he hates Wellman. She explains that those tabloids were National Unity Party mouthpieces during the Second East-West War of Unification, and all the supposed sources are suspicious. National Unity Party is the political party in Ostania that is known for its anti-Westales notions. She is genuinely exhausted from training recruits and wonders if she was this soft with Lloyd. Almost certainly not. Meanwhile, Sylvia's team intercepts a hired gunman heading for Wellman as he exits his building. Sylvia spots him wielding a gun, and she takes him out herself using a belt strike to the hand. Yeah, she still got it, don't she? Wellman departs for Westales cheerfully, unaware that his ass was just saved by Sylvia's swift action. After the mission, it's discovered that Wellman's affairs might actually be true, and he is defecting to Westales to escape a crime boss. The rookie agent demands answers, and Sylvia tells him to go find them himself. In Eden School, Anya helps Henderson carry boxes in exchange for tea cakes. He engages in a conversation with her about what it takes to become an imperial scholar. Anya, however, says she wants the stars because they look cool. This hurts Henderson's feelings. He takes her to the Hall of Fame of Eden's greatest alumni and explains that most of them build their achievements gradually, over several years through hard work and determination. Anya is given her tea cakes, and she gobbles them up as she goes home. She gets home and reads her parents' minds and sees how exhausted they both are from work. Gosh, what an awesome ability. This episode begins with Yor going shopping for Anya, and she ends up catching a woman named Melinda from falling down the stairs while carrying pastry boxes. Melinda is more than impressed by her fast reflexes and invites her to fill in at a volleyball match with the Lady Patriots Society. It's an all-mother community group.
Basically, we're a group of mommy friends living in Berlin.
She accepts and plays the game with the strength of someone who's not playing volleyball, but slowly, she learns to hold back and helps the team have fun despite them losing. It seems she's made some new friends now. After the game, they go have tea, and Yor opens up about her insecurities as a wife and mother. The other women assure her that it's perfectly normal to feel that way. Melinda mentions that her child goes to Eden. Yor says her daughter goes there too. So Melinda introduces herself as Melinda Desmond. Yeah. It's Damien's mother. Yor comes back home and tells Lloyd the whole story. He recognizes the name. She's the wife of Donovan Desmond. Wise classified her as high risk, low reward because she's estranged from the family. Lloyd uses their interaction to his advantage. He tells Yor to keep attending the meetups with Melinda while he secretly builds Plan C around it. Plan C involves monitoring Melinda and building another route to Donovan through Yor. He names it the Mommy Friend Scheme.
But this is Plan C, the Mommy Friend Scheme.
The next day, Yor checks in with the shopkeeper to get clearance to pursue the friendship with Melinda. He approves, but warns her that Melinda is conservative, and she needs to make sure Lloyd does not know that. The next day, Anya asks Becky for help befriending Damien. Becky suggests a romance trope of a show she watched: hold food in your mouth, run around a corner, and bump into the target. The oldest trick in the book. Anya follows the script, but Damien dodges it perfectly and she falls down. Plan B is getting worse than before. Now, this episode does a perfect job showing us hater energy. At Eden, Anya corners Damien about a snack she believes he owes her. Damien is relieved she only wants food and not a meeting with his father. She reads his mind and shifts to visiting his house instead. She tells Damien that their mothers know each other. At the hospital, a department head named Gerald Gorey has been quietly jealous of Lloyd for being better liked, respected, and rising faster despite doing the bare minimum. Well, according to him, he's doing nothing to deserve it. Also, Gerald has feelings for Fiona. Bro's the final boss of being a hater. He is convinced that Lloyd is pursuing Fiona, so he takes it upon himself to destroy him. He begins crafting a series of unfortunate events to make people dislike Lloyd. He starts by putting laxatives in Lloyd's coffee, but the patient is kind about it. He proceeds to stick toilet paper to Lloyd's coat. The staff take it lightly and help him out. He goes further and reads a love letter from Lloyd to Fiona. Fiona reads it and dismisses it. Bro's a certified hater. He decides to take his hating spree a notch higher. This time, he calls the SSS and reports Lloyd a spy. 2 undercover agents arrive at the hospital. They handcuff Lloyd in front of Gerald, who's more than excited to see his plans actualized. Joke's on him, though. He doesn't know that the 2 SSS agents are Fiona and Frankie in disguise. Frankie intercepted Gerald's call. They flip the entire scene and expose Gerald's elaborate scheme. From the forged evidence planted by Gerald himself to his misconduct, he is caught red-handed. They prepare to take him in, but Lloyd intervenes, saying Gerald is an essential member of the hospital. Gerald, shocked, breaks down in tears and is now completely indebted to the man who saved him, Lloyd. Meanwhile, Eden's first-year students are going on a field trip to Berlin Museum. The bus suddenly goes off course. The bus stops. The door opens, and a man named Billy Squire enters. He tasers the dorm tutor, leaving the children scared, and announces that the bus has been taken over by the Red Circus. The children freeze in horror. Wise learns about the incident of the previous episode moments after it happened. Sylvia sees that both Anya and Damien are on board and orders full shadow support for the police. On the bus, Anya is overwhelmed by the students' fear. Bill Watkins tells everyone to stay calm and reminds them that their parents have enough influence to bring help. Billy points a gun at him and tells him to shut up. He obeys and melts into the chair. Anya eavesdrops into the driver's mind, thinking about the destination, Papier Park. She tells Becky, and they decide to write an SOS note. Damien causes a distraction, and they throw the note through the window. Billy notices their mischievous actions and puts a bomb on Anya's neck as punishment and warns the whole bus that any suspicious behavior will set it off. Kaboom! Becky's father is enraged by the news of the hijacking. He summons all the power he has and orders them to make sure his daughter is safe. On the bus, Anya reads Billy's mind and discovers that the bomb collar is fake. She relaxes for a while. She tries to impress Damien for Plan B by casually tapping the bomb. The bus erupts in panic, thinking Anya has lost her mind. Damien, thinking Anya is just trying to be brave, walks up to Billy and demands to take her place. He's given his own collar bomb, and Damien is angry about that.
We met!
Say what? You're just so...
The police stop the bus using spikes, and the standoff begins. The hijackers force the kids to blacken the windows, making the police unable to see anything. Billy walks out of the bus with Damien in hand and lists their demands. Wise is still unable to locate the second bus when a sighting comes in heading south. Sylvia quickly passes the intel to the police. At the SSS headquarters, Yuri has literally been tied to a pillar by his lieutenant to stop him from running to the scene. He overhears the update, talks his way free, and immediately starts working the area. The standoff continues in this next episode, and the SSS captains want to storm the bus and get it done with. But that's not a good idea. It would lead to unwanted deaths. Henderson offers to board the bus to deliver rations to the students who are excited to see him.
Yay! I was starting to get mega hungry.
The girl has nerves of steel.
He tries talking to Billy to release the students by appealing to his parental side. Billy's daughter was a member of the Red Circus when it was still a peaceful student movement. She was killed during a protest that was violently suppressed. Billy then joined the active resistance after his loss. Anya sees all this through reading his mind. Meanwhile, Yuri locates the second bus in a warehouse and raids it with other agents. He takes a bullet to the shoulder to prevent the hijackers from using the kids as shields. After a brief standoff and some premium butt kicking, all the hostages in the second bus are freed safely. With the second bus recovered, the SSS prepares to storm the first. Anya walks to Billy and demands more food rations. Billy threatens to blow her head off. Oh boy, who's gonna tell him? Anya mirrors the words Billy's daughter said before the protest got her killed. Word for word. Billy even sees his daughter's image behind Anya. He removes Anya's collar and tells her to get off the bus. She refuses because she knows he won't do anything violent towards her. The bus driver, Vadim, who's also a member of the Red Circus, tries to take over, threatening to shoot Anya. Mr. Henderson steps in front of Anya to protect her. Billy grabs the group's weapons and walks out to surrender. Vadim, visibly enraged by Billy's decision, drives the bus forward, but he's stopped by two armored vehicles. He grabs Anya and rushes outside, using her as a human shield. Martha drops from above and tasers his hands. She catches Anya before she lands on the ground. Great save! After the whole incident ended, this episode sees Anya, Becky, Damien, and Bill receive Stella stars for their conduct during the hijacking. For Anya, that's her second star so far. She's halfway to Imperial Scholar. Way to go, young lady! On the night of the hijacking, the hostages were released and reunited with their families. Becky reunites with her father and leaves crying. The other students follow suit, leaving Damien and Anya behind. He awkwardly apologizes for how he treated her and calls her brave. Anya also thanks him for trying to take the bomb in her stead. Damien confirms to Anya that they are now friends. Looks like Plan B has worked. Anya immediately asks to visit his house and introduce their parents to each other. Yor arrives and Damien's mother shortly follows. Yor embraces Anya, who cries for the first time since the ordeal. Damien's mother tells him to not tell his father that she was present. Anya reads her mind and discovers that she has deep love for Damien, but bitter hatred and resentment towards his father. Back at school, Anya is famous. She is leaning into her new hero status. She now wants to be called Double Starlight Anya. Well, she deserves it. And the other students see her and Damien as heroes, as they should. Damien tries to dismiss her as a commoner, which somehow only makes her more interesting to everyone around them. When Anya describes Yor's cooking, Emil and Ewan scoff at the idea of parents making food. Damien, however, disagrees, thinking about his mother's delicious meal. The students spend the rest of the day bickering. Despite the bus jacking ending episodes ago, Thomas Austin, the Cecil Hall dorm tutor who was held hostage on the bus, has been having really scary nightmares in this episode. Henderson recommends Lloyd. Thomas meets up with Lloyd and he immediately recognizes that the nightmares began way before the hijacking incident. The real source of the nightmares is his wife. She scares him more than anything else. I feel you, buddy. Lloyd spends 2 sessions carefully coaching him on how to talk to her. He leaves the second session staring at the ceiling, imagining how marriages are a difficult thing. Fiona is eavesdropping on their conversation, imagining how she would never fight Lloyd if they were married. Yor's co-workers invite her to dinner after working overtime together. At the restaurant, she tries to come up with a fake grievance about Lloyd to feel relatable to the other ladies. She gets drunk and blasts the fake complaints. The others don't seem to believe it. They tease her about being in a lovey-dovey relationship and suggest to her that she give him a welcome home kiss. She goes home, Lloyd greets her, and she begins overthinking on whether to go in for the kiss. She collapses, and Lloyd catches her before she hits the ground. She imagines kicking him again, so she leaps away to prevent her intrusive thoughts from winning. Elsewhere, Damien and his friends are watching the news about the East-West space race. Ostania's budget has significantly increased. Damien is not impressed and hopes the rocket just doesn't explode. Ewan, however, is thrilled with the space exploration. At school, they find Anya playing with a paper rocket, and Ewan gets along with her. The next morning, after coming home drunk, Yor is awkward with Lloyd in this episode. She decides the best thing to do is to gripe at him. She tells him she's not satisfied with her marriage and general life together. Yuri walks in just as she's complaining. Yuri suggests that his sister get a divorce, then makes Lloyd apologize.
Aha! Tell me what you did yesterday!
He didn't do anything!
I didn't do anything, but it all started yesterday?
Yor is standing there, clueless, thinking how gripes are just normal for married folks. Yor tells Yuri to stay away from their marital affairs. Lloyd gets an emergency and leaves the house after Yor continues griping. Yuri comes to the conclusion that Lloyd is cheating on his sister, and they decide to follow him quietly. Lloyd senses them, of course. They think they can outstalk a spy? Huh? Not happening. As they're following him, Yuri gets an emergency summons from his own unit. Yor follows Lloyd alone, and she finally sobers up and realizes he's not cheating, and it's pointless to create fake grievances. Inside the hospital, Fiona briefs Lloyd on a serious situation. A wise mole named Winston Wheeler has stolen some classified documents from Wise headquarters in Westalis, including information about Operation Strix. He's crossed the border into a border town called Shellberry. Both Wise and SSS are converging on it. In Shellberry, Lloyd disguises himself as Wheeler to intercept the SSS meeting. He uses a color-coded tie-pin gambit. Different colors are led to different operatives to identify who is leaking to Wise. The SSS is quick to unravel the whole plan, however, so Lloyd is now surrounded. The post-credits scene shows Anya and Becky wandering into a zoo exhibit designed to showcase the dangers of humanity.
There's the monster.
Yes, that is the point of the exhibit, my lady.
Our spy is in deep trouble in this episode. Lloyd is surrounded and has been discovered as the imposter. As he's about to be shot, he triggers preset traps and runs away. Yuri tracks his footprints and concludes he went into the sewers. Lloyd, still disguised as Yuri, gets into the sewers, followed by the real Yuri. They meet at a corner and both draw their guns. Lloyd takes a bullet to the arm. He had already pressed the trigger before being shot, hitting Yuri's gun. It falls into the water and Yuri is disarmed. Both their guns fall into the sewer next to them. From now on, it's hands-on combat. They start fighting, and this is easy for Lloyd. Yuri is beaten down multiple times, but he does not stay down. Lloyd finally beats Yuri and he falls down hard. Just as Lloyd is about to finish him with the metal rod, Yuri whispers an apology to Yor. Lloyd hears that, stops, and walks away from him. At the Shellberry Hotel, Fiona and the Wise agent make multiple attempts to draw Wheeler out. He spots everyone and stays hidden. Fiona identifies him by the way he uses window reflections to track people. A junior Wise agent under Sylvia's command named Red 4 and Fiona corner him in a dark alley and recover the stolen files. Wheeler takes Red 4 hostage and throws him at her. She shoots but misses as Wheeler lands in the sewer below them. He throws a knife in her gun barrel and makes his escape. In the sewer tunnel, Fiona goes after Wheeler.
You've got this, Nightfall! You can overcome any obstacle in your way with the power of love!
Deep in the sewers, Lloyd, still in disguise, runs into Wheeler. Wheeler sees straight through the disguise and attacks him. The fight is a brutal one, and Lloyd loses. Fiona appears just as Wheeler is about to unmask him. Fiona sees Lloyd on the ground with Wheeler standing over him. Fiona attacks him so fast that he overthinks it and breaks his guard. She hits him hard enough that her own arm breaks from the impact. Damn, that's some powerful hit. The final episode of Season 3 starts off on a high note. After giving him one hell of a kick, Fiona continues beating the crap out of Wheeler. Her mental limiters are gone, and she is now unstoppable. She is running on pure fury, and she's going to do whatever it takes to make him stay down.
But her arm's dislocated!
Lloyd regains consciousness and stops her from killing Wheeler, since keeping him alive would help them with intelligence and leverage. He then goes on to restrain Wheeler. The wise agent arrives disguised as the SSS officer. They extract Wheeler and Fiona while Lloyd carries her. Fiona is extremely delighted, but can't show up.
This is it, I'm going to die! If he doesn't put me down soon, my heart will explode and I'm actually going to die!
In the end, they manage to escape Shellberry undetected. Lloyd has another problem at home though. The last time he left, he was shouted at by Yor, and he's thinking about how to apologize to her. He walks home, and Yor greets him warmly, which leaves Lloyd confused. She confesses that she invented the grievances to seem normal after her co-workers told her it was normal to have complaints. Yuri shows up, and he notices Lloyd's arm and checks the sleeve, thinking it's who he saw at the sewer. He finds nothing and backs off, and after Yor escorts him out, Lloyd heads into the shower and removes the hidden bandage. He's lucky to have that hidden just in case. Smart move. Fiona is recovering at the hospital. Gerald brings her VIP patient files as a gift. Sylvia, disguised as a nurse, tells Fiona she will make a full recovery and warns her to not push herself too hard for Lloyd's sake. Her face goes red. Looks like their handler knows how she feels about Lloyd. At the Forger household, Yor takes over all the chores as Lloyd rests. Anya shows off her stuffed lion from the zoo, which sends Bond into a jealous spiral of failed animal impressions. Frankie arrives with supplies, and Anya tries to brush his hair, sending the whole living room into complete chaos. Lloyd pokes his head outside to check on some noise, and he later comes to find Anya, Bond, and Yor all sleeping together in the living room. He yawns, sits down, and gets back to work in the quiet. And there you have it, the whole story of Spy Family. It doesn't end here though. There's still more to come, and I'll be here if you need me to cover it. For now though, feel free to click the link on screen to watch another one of my videos. And in the meantime, peace!